Hi, I'm Grace from Canada. Please like and subscribe. I was raised by my single dad, and he was the best parent anyone could ask for. He was a lawyer and worked long hours, but he was always there to make me breakfast, take me to school, and give me piggyback rides when we got home. Charge, my trusty horse! Giddy up, giddy up! Throughout my childhood, different people tried to convince Dad to get married, but he never agreed. You know every child deserves a mom.
Thank you, but I'm perfectly capable of raising Grace.
Aha! Take that, nosy people. Dad and I were perfect alone. But as a kid, I struggled to make friends. It turned out that I had social anxiety, and talking to people was a nightmare. Dad said it was because I spent a lot of time alone, but it didn't get easier even after joining school. I always said the wrong things and ended up chasing people away. Like this one time, I saw a girl sitting alone at recess, and I went to talk to her. Hi, I like your dress. It's green like a frog. Not that you look like a frog. Well, maybe you do, but in a good way. What a weirdo. After a while, I stopped trying and became the girl who was always alone and kinda invisible. But then I found company in my books, so it was no surprise that I was a genius at school. My life was really simple. I went to school, topped my grades, and then came home to watch movies with Dad. But when I turned 14, everything changed. One evening, we were halfway through dinner when I noticed that Dad was sweating nervously. OMG, was he having a heart attack? I pushed him down to the floor and began thumping his chest. Dad, you're gonna be fine. I won't let anything happen to you.
I'm fine, Grace. I just wanted to tell you I met someone. Her name is Angela, and I want to marry her. And the best part is, you get a brother and a sister.
Wait, what? What are you talking about, Dad? You always said you didn't need any help raising me, so why now?
I'm not marrying her to raise you, Grace. I'm marrying her because I love her.
Loved her? I was furious. I stormed off to my room and slammed the door shut. Our lives were perfect. Why would Dad want to change anything? A week later, Dad arranged for me to meet Angela and her kids over dinner, and I had the perfect plan to chase them away. I changed the settings of the oven and turned the turkey to flames. No food, no dinner. But Angela, my stepmom, turned out to be a master chef. When she came home, she cooked food for everyone, and it was freaking delicious. But I wasn't gonna melt so easily. I kept frowning at her the entire time while her 5-year-old son kept blowing raspberries at me. He was so cute. Ugh! Focus, Grace! This is a really lovely home, and I'm so happy to meet you. Well, sadly, I'm not.
Grace, you will be nice to our guests. Apologize right now.
I mumbled sorry under my breath and turned my focus to her daughter. Her name was Eva, and she kept going around and touching everything. Wow, what a big house, and what a shiny sculpture. Don't touch it. It's my dad's favorite and really valuable. Don't you mean our dad, sister? And listen to me carefully. Don't play with me. I'm warning you. What? She gave me the most evil smirk and rubbed her dirty hands all over the sculpture before she ran away smirking. After they left, I told Dad I didn't like Angela and her daughter, but he didn't listen. And a month later, they were married. At their wedding, I was the angriest guest ever, but Eva was happier than the bride. A day after the wedding, Dad came into my room and sat on the bed.
I know this is hard for you, Grace, but I want you to promise that you'll try to like them. For me, okay?
Dad had never asked me for anything before, and his request moved me. So I decided to chin up and try to love my new family. The same day Dad and Angela were supposed to leave for their honeymoon, Dad said their trip was canceled because the sitter they'd arranged wasn't available. And I took this chance to be supportive. I can handle everything here, Dad. You should go. I insisted. How hard could it be to take care of a 5-year-old? They agreed and left for the week. And Fred was great. But Eva was a witch. She refused to help and would litter all around the house, thus making me do all the chores by myself. Then one evening I looked out my window and saw Eva yelling at Fred. I rushed outside to his rescue. You idiot! How dare you put a bug on my bed? You can't even talk right, you weirdo. She was about to hit him when I came and stopped her. Stop it, Eva. Don't touch him. And don't speak to him like that. Back off. He's my brother, not yours. I'll speak to him any way I like. I knew what it felt like for someone to call you a weirdo, so I gave him a hug. You know, I don't think you're weird. In fact, you're the best 5-year-old I know. His face lit up and he happily skipped away. I already knew that I was gonna love him so much, and soon enough, he became my first friend ever. And that drove Eva mad. Fred, you know I'm your actual sister and not her. But Fred ran to me and climbed into my lap. Soon enough, our parents came home and Eva joined my school. She instantly became friends with the popular girls, and everyone wanted to be close to her. Eva, it's time to go. Ew, who are you? I'm Grace. We've been in the same class since the 1st grade. Wow, I really never noticed you before. What? All my life, these people made me feel invisible. And Eva walks in and suddenly she has a million friends? One weekend when our parents were away, I heard loud music coming from the backyard. I went to check and found Eva having a huge party in the garage. It seemed like half the school was there. What's going on? I'm having a meet and greet with my new friends. My dad would not like this. He'll only know if you tell. Just then I heard someone say,
No way. Loser nerd girl is your sister.
And that hurt so much. I'd spent so many birthdays alone because these people never came. But they were all here now. I hated that Eva had walked into my life and was living it better than I ever did. So I went to the main controller and I shut down the electricity. The music died and soon everyone left. And Eva came screaming at me. But just then our parents came back home. And when they saw the mess, Angela was pretty upset.
How dare you have a party without asking? You are in trouble, young lady. I'm grounding you for a month. It's all right, Angela. She's just a kid.
Ugh, I wish he knew. As soon as Dad took her side, Eva turned all smiles and Angela came to me.
I wanted to thank you, Grace. You accepted us as a family and looked after both Eva and Fred. So I got you a present as a token of thanks.
It was a beautiful gold necklace. She put it around my neck, and for the first time, I noticed how beautiful she was. Maybe she wasn't so bad after all. Hello, where's mine?
You're not getting it anymore. I'll sell it and give the money to charity.
Eva grew red with anger and she marched to her room. And later that night, she stormed into mine. Look here, you nerd. If you think my mom loves you, you are wrong. She married your dad for his money, and that's the only reason she's nice to both of you. So before you get any mommy-daughter fantasies in your head, I thought you should know that. I just tried to ignore her because I knew she was mean to her core. But it annoyed me so much that people still adored her, even my dad. One evening, I came down into the lounge and I saw Eva jumping around happily. Oh my God, we're gonna go see Funky. Funky? It was our favorite band. Dad and I always watched them play when they came to town.
Actually, Eva and I are going. I only managed to get the last 2 tickets, and Eva's never seen them play before.
What? But that's our thing. This is crazy. You're taking her and not your daughter?
Come on. You've seen them a million times, and Eva is my daughter too.
Stepdaughter? With that, I picked up a picture frame on the shelf and smashed it to pieces.
Grace, I am so disappointed. I didn't raise you to be a brat.
I didn't care. I was really angry at Dad. In fact, I was angry at all of them for changing my life. But it was hard to hate my stepmom. While Dad and Eva were at the concert, she took me shopping and we did fun things I never did with Dad. One morning I overslept and I was in a hurry to get to school. I was struggling with my hair when she walked into the bathroom and helped me. There you go. You look beautiful. Thank you, Angela. Please,
call me Mom.
Mom. I imagined a perfect world where she really was my mom, but my thoughts were interrupted by Eva's voice. Mom, can you leave her ugly hair and help me with mine?
Oh, honey, you guys are late. We don't have time for that.
Eva went red with anger. Jeez. I was slowly getting used to having a new family, even though I still hated Eva. But then one day, it all came crashing down. I came home from school and went to say hello to Mom, but I stopped outside her room when I heard her speak.
Darling, we'll leave as soon as we're done selling those sculptures and all the jewelry. I can't wait to get away from this man and his needy daughter.
My heart broke. So Eva was right all along. Her mother didn't love me or even Dad. I immediately raced downstairs and saw that Dad's favorite sculpture was gone. Oh my God! I went out to the driveway and waited for Dad to get home. Dad, I told you these people are evil. I told him what I'd heard, and it made me so sad to see his heartbroken face. But when we went back inside, the sculpture was back in place. What? I couldn't believe it. And I could already see how disappointed Dad was in me. Wait, Dad, I'm not lying. I heard Angela myself. She's a thief.
You think I stole something?
I turned around to see Angela, Fred, and Eva standing behind me, looking shocked. But they weren't fooling me anymore. Just stop it. I heard you saying you'll sell Dad's sculptures and leave. You can stop pretending now.
All I've ever done since I've come here is love you, but it seems like I'm wasting my time.
She turned to Dad and said,
I love you, but if your daughter hates me enough to make up lies about me, then maybe we shouldn't be together. I'm leaving.
What? Leave? We can't leave. Can we all calm down and talk about this? But her mom had already stormed off, and Eva ran to her.
I begged you to try and like them for me, but I guess that was too much to ask.
Dad, I'm not lying.
Stop it. You got what you wanted. Congratulations.
It was the first time Dad had ever yelled at me, and then he walked out. Gracie, you really want us to go? I thought you were my sister. I cried as I hugged him tight and ran away to my room. As they left in their car, I watched them from my window and cried some more. After that, Dad didn't speak to me for a while. Our lives were back to normal, but everything was different. Dad was miserable, and so was I. I missed Fred and his mom. Why did they have to turn out to be such terrible people? One day I was in my room when I heard something. I looked outside, and it was Eva throwing stones at my window. I marched downstairs angrily to ask her what she wanted, but she held up her hand. Wait, let me speak first. I'm just here to fix things. My mom didn't do anything. I used a fake voice app to make up the thing you heard.
What?
Are you crazy? Why would you do that? Because I was jealous. I had Mom to myself for years, but then Fred came along, and then you, and she likes you better. It was like I kept getting pushed back and no one remembered me anymore. I didn't mean to break them up. I just wanted to hurt you and for you to kinda hate Mom. I'm sorry, okay? Please help me make our parents happy again. Weirdly enough, I sort of understood Eva. To be honest, I was jealous of you too. I didn't like sharing my dad. And all the things I found difficult came so easy to you. Next to you, I felt like a freak. Don't say that. You're the smartest person I know, and you may not have friends, but you have a brother and sister who care about you. If you still want them. I could feel tears rolling down my cheeks as we hugged. And I noticed for the first time that she smelled like flowers, just like Angela. Let's go tell our parents about the mess you made. My mom's gonna kill me. Don't worry, I'll save you.
I was having the best vacation of my life before I ended up alone in the middle of the ocean. Now, you might wonder how the heck a person would end up lost in the middle of the ocean on a family vacation? Well, you can say that my luck isn't exactly typical. Before everything had escalated to this, I was planning a trip with both of my parents to the Caribbean islands. You see, my family is kind of rich, the kind that can afford to rent out a private jet when they go on vacations, and that's exactly what we did. On the 1st of October, we packed our stuff and were ready to enjoy an adventurous weekend. I didn't pack much. In fact, I didn't need much. Just some clothes and my special parachute suit, which I always take with me on every vacation if I ever feel like parachuting. I could honestly tell you guys that parachuting is the thing that gets me excited the most. The sensation flying in the air can't be compared to any other feeling in the world. In most cases, my father jumps with me, and we land together on the island. However, this time, things kinda took a different turn. As I was getting ready to jump, I stood near the door of the jet waiting for my father, as he was getting ready to join. When I looked down, I could see that we were almost near the land, and I was getting really excited to jump. The view looked so amazing. So I took out my phone from my jacket pocket and took a picture. But that's when something happened that took me off guard. My phone slipped from my hand, and I quickly leaned forward without thinking, hoping I would catch it. You could probably assume that at that point, what I did was very stupid, because it had caused me to lose my balance and trip off the jet. Oh my God! I couldn't believe this was actually happening to me at the moment. Everything was so quick that I couldn't even utter a word or scream for help, and I started falling as I heard my parents screaming my name. I took a deep breath to calm myself down, and I just thought that I'll do what I always do, except that this time I was going to land without my father. About 10 seconds later, the automatic parachute went off, which meant that something was wrong. It must have been the way I fell out of the jet, I thought. It was going too fast, and I did not jump correctly. I was heading towards the earth without any idea where I might land. But when I looked underneath, all I could see was water everywhere. I honestly wasn't sure if I'd land in the sea, but I was hoping I wouldn't, because it was going to be a big problem. Before I knew it, I had hit the ocean. I had to act fast to avoid drowning. I remembered the instructions that said if you land in the water, you must get your chest strap off to take the gear off quickly and swim beneath the parachute. Even though I was panicking like crazy, I tried to calm myself down because I really needed to focus on what I was doing. Otherwise, I wouldn't survive. It took me a while before I managed to focus on the way I was swimming. I was honestly scared to death that my feet would get tangled up in the parachute and drown me with it. When I looked around me, all I saw was water. No ships, no land, no people, nothing. I took my shoes off to help ease my movement, and I swam around towards where I thought could be the way to the island. But I realized after a while that there was no way for me to know if I was swimming in the right direction. At that moment, I started realizing that I was in much bigger trouble than I thought I was in. I can't even describe the feeling I had. I have never been more scared in my entire life. My body was tired. Swimming started to become exhausting, and I honestly wondered whether that was going to be my last day alive. Then a thought hit me. I remembered all of the adventures I had taken with my parents and how there were a lot of hard times. At that moment, I knew that feeling sorry for myself wasn't going to get me anywhere. I needed to fight to stay alive. I never thought I would be put in that kind of situation. Well, to be fair, there were times that it had passed my mind, though I think everyone has had those kind of worst-case scenario thoughts, but never did I think of that. I thought about all the best ways to retain my energy. My biggest problem was that my body felt like lead. I didn't want to push myself too hard and sink to the bottom, so I decided to float for a while. However, with more time to think, more bad thoughts kept coming to mind. I was in the middle of the ocean. What if a shark came up from the water and decided to eat me? They could smell blood for miles, and their jaws could snap down on me quick. Even while I was floating, there would have been a shark creeping along the bottom of the ocean, just waiting for the right moment to attack. Needless to say, I was feeling uneasy. Even if it wasn't a shark, what if a freak storm hit and washed me further away from where my parents were looking? The weather around the island was supposed to be superb around this time of year, but that didn't mean the weather couldn't change at any moment. I knew deep down that it may have been illogical, but at that moment, logic seemed to be the last thing that made it to the top of my mind. I never felt so weak in my life. There was nothing I could control. If something went wrong all of the ways out here, I would end up dead, and my parents wouldn't even know what happened to me. I was out in the open with nothing to do but swim around, and I was hardly the fastest thing in the sea. There was no mistaking how vulnerable I was out there. So many thoughts that seemed to weigh me down more than my own tired body. I started to panic again and started to swim again, trying to do all I could to make some sort of safety fast. Then I thought better of it. I knew that I needed to calm down if I wanted to survive. The only thing I could do was wait. But if I used up all of my energy then and there, I wouldn't have any later in case I desperately needed it. I didn't know if there were any sharks around, but if there were, I would not go down without a fight. Those may have been empty words, but they made me feel better at the moment. I started thinking about other things. I wanted to fill the time by thinking about anything that would take my mind off of the situation that I was in. Lying there, looking up at the sky, I started to play little games in my mind. I looked at the clouds and found images in them. And then I would remember times that would fit with the image. I saw slopes and remembered how my family went skiing the year before. Skiing down the mountains and feeling the cold on my face while surrounded by the thick snow. The hot chocolate I drank when we all sat down in the lobby at the end of the day, and the fireplace in our room as we sat and played board games. It was one of my favorite memories of last year. The clouds started to drift through the sky, passing me by, on their way for their own adventure. I could see the sun start to dip in the sky, but I didn't know how much time had passed. My body was starting to ache all over. From hitting the water to swimming as hard as I could, I was pushing myself further than I ever had. The worst part was not knowing how much longer I would need to continue pushing. At that moment, I couldn't even panic. I was too tired to do anything else but float. Trying to do anything else would take too much energy. As the sun drifted lower in the sky, I thought how beautiful the orange glow over the water looked, and I started to wonder, would that be the last thing I saw before I died? When the sun had completely faded in the sky and the stars started to show, my body started to falter. I could feel myself dipping underwater and tried focusing all of my attention on staying afloat just a little longer. I could feel tears in my eyes, but they were covered by the water. I clenched my eyes shut tight, my mind once again drifting towards the negative. I wasn't going to be found. Maybe my parents were looking in the wrong place. And what if my swimming earlier was in the wrong direction and I made it harder on them? I started to come down on myself harder than I ever had before. I opened my eyes again and looked up at the stars. One stood out above all the rest. It was brightly reflected on the water, but when I looked up, I didn't see it. When the light got brighter and brighter, I realized that it wasn't a star, but a boat. I smiled to myself as it came closer to me. Then I used the last of my strength to scream out. As the boat came near, I could feel relief fill my body. I didn't know how long I was there, nor did I know if I would make it, but just being able to see help coming for me made all the difference in the world. The crew helped me up onto the boat and led me over to a small cot that they laid out for me. It wasn't until I was out of the water that I realized how cold I actually was. When they saw me shivering, they wrapped me up tight to fight off the cold night and headed off in the direction of the island. It was finally over. I was brought to the local hospital and waited for my parents to arrive. They fussed over me for quite some time, trying to make sure that I didn't have any cuts and bruises, and to make sure that I was rested and ate a nice meal. Even though I was surrounded by strangers, it felt good to be back on dry land again. When my parents burst into the room, I could see the worry on their faces. My body wasn't too beat up, but being in the ocean for so long made me look worse than I was. My dad immediately went to asking questions, trying to find out if there was anything wrong with me. My mom came to my bed and held me tight in her arms. I hugged her back, so happy to be near her again. When she finally let go, I could see that her eyes were red and puffy. My dad came over to me next and apologized for not getting there sooner and told me how he hired every available boat to search for me. I shook my head and gave him a hug too. I was just happy that he was there now. From then on, I knew not to take life for granted. Every moment is precious and should be spent appreciating everything that you have, because you never know when it may be gone. So yeah, call it bad luck or even a stupid mistake. I can't really argue with either one, but I'm just glad that it had a happy ending. What did you think of my story? Please share your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.